Here's the thing. I've been trying to make this video for a long time. And I think that all 150 of you out there deserve an explanation. You deserve an explanation for our long absence. And here's the raw truth. Zach's gone. He's gone. And I've had about 4 months to deal with that, and you're now hearing it for the first time. And I sympathize with that because Zach's a great guy. And in fact, Zach is the guy of guys, if you will. He's the dude of dudes. He's the bro of bros. He is someone that I wish everyone had in their life. Because Zach is someone that will do things for you that, frankly, you won't even do for yourself. And what I mean by that is 2 years ago, Zach and I, almost 2.5 years ago now, decided that we wanted to start a podcast. We decided that because we wanted to do something, dear Lord, anything more than what we were currently doing at the time, which was sitting around and complaining basically about the church and about how frustrated we were that we didn't feel like our spiritual needs were being met by an organization. And try as we might, we could not think of a better idea other than to start a podcast. The ultimate goal eventually being building a community. And although it did not happen the way that we thought it would, something did happen. And it happened mainly to me. And Zach was there for me during a really hard time of my life. But I'm already getting ahead of myself. And I really owe you guys an explanation. Because what I want to do in this video is simply give you an understanding of what it means to be a friend and what's been going on the past couple months and the vision I believe that I have for this channel. Dare I say, God has given me for this channel. And I think we'll start at the beginning. Because when we first did our first episode at my apartment, I was scared to death. I was scared to death of putting my face out there. I've been a very camera shy person my whole life. I've hated photography and getting pictures taken of myself, so much so that I picked up the hobby of photography, which I also don't even like that much, frankly, really. I just did it so that I didn't have to be in front of the camera, and yet here we are. And I did that because, meaning I started a podcast because I just really thought there was not enough mediocre podcasts out there run by white guys, frankly, and I thought there needed to be one more. But the real reason I did it was because I was scared. And I don't like being scared of things. And I may have just done a podcast for 2 years out of spite of that fear. But in another sense, I did it for a whole host of other reasons, including wanting to meet other people. I really wanted to get outside of my comfort zone. I really wanted to grow my ability to communicate. And frankly, I really wanted to spend more time with Zach. And I wanted to be doing something together. The best times I felt like we had were fixing one another's cars, or men, we need a project. We're very project oriented. And so I wanted to basically create that ad infinitum, or forever, which is really unfair to Zach because honestly, and I'm kind of joking about all this, but genuinely, I like Zach a lot. In fact, I say I love Zach. I have a deep brotherly love for Zach, and I really wanted to. I've always enjoyed my conversations with Zach, and so I figured, hey, at the very least, This will just be like a log of my friendship. And I'll be able to like look back on this in, 10, 20 years when hopefully I have kids and be able to show my kids, hey, this is your dad. Like, this is what he was struggling with. This is what he was dealing with at, 24, or 23 or 24, 25 or whatever. And boy, did that work. I mean, we genuinely did a great job of sitting down once a week and saying for 2 years, we are not going to miss a week podcasting. And I am so freaking proud of that accomplishment. It took so much freaking discipline. I mean, there were times where Zach and I would roll up to wherever we were doing a podcast at, dead tired, like, why are we doing this right now? And we would sit down and we would do largely a mediocre podcast, but sometimes a decent podcast. And we would feel better. Always we would feel better. And so as the years rolled on, we started to develop this vision, and this vision of a coffee shop, this vision of a community, a space for community. Well, what do we always do in our friend group? Most of the time we go get coffee together, we go share a meal together. So why don't we just, I don't know, dream about having a place like that for ourselves, that we can do all the things that we want to do. Was it very like Ferris Bueller-esque? For sure. But you know what? Ferris Bueller's baller. He's freaking baller. And we figured adults are boring, so why don't we just try something? And I am so proud that we did that. What I'm not proud of is the lack of creativity that was sometimes evident in the podcast, the lack of effort, frankly, on my part, is what I'm trying to say. Zach has always been a man of effort, and he would continuously put hours and hours into the podcast, both helping me set up, tear down, do the podcast, and then he would also go home and he would edit. And he would edit and he would edit and he would edit until his hands were bleeding and his eyes were watering, because that's the kind of friend that Zach is. He doesn't give up. He's very tenacious. And I should have known better than to put Zach in that kind of situation. Meaning, like, Zach was never going to give up on a friend. He would never give up on a friend. That's just who he is. And so basically what happened is I got an opportunity last year to be a part of a project in which it seemed like all of our dreams were becoming a reality. And it went on for a couple months. We did an investor presentation. There were many, many influential and well-off people there. We worked very hard on creating a concept and an idea and a pitch to meet what we felt like was an opportunity to create a space for people that wanted to come to one spot and get high quality food and drink, co-work, and maybe, even get a workout in, get a cold plunge in, get a sauna in, maybe have a little mini library going on, a little podcast studio there. And so that was our dream, right? We would have a podcast studio on the second floor, and we would have some kind of hangout coffee shop on the first floor. And that's what it was going to be. Unfortunately, due to extenuating circumstances that were outside of my control, no one decided to put forth their money. Several people decided to volunteer their effort, which was really cool. And we had an awesome team for a little while. But the leadership, shall we say, was rotten to the core for many reasons. And I began to really suffer. I began to lose a lot of weight, and I did not have much weight to lose. I lost about 15 pounds just from stress, where I would stress fast, which is the direct opposite of stress eating. It's where you don't eat, and it's not good. And I would wake up in the morning, I would make some coffee, I would go upstairs to my office, and I would sit and stare at my corkboard, which is in the front of my desk, for about 2 hours before my first meeting, which is not good, nor is it normal. And frankly, I just didn't know what to do. I was in over my head. I was being manipulated. I didn't realize it. I was just trying to do a good thing for some good people, and some not so good people. I later learned I would pace like back and forth in my room, or like in the middle of the night. I'd like wake up in a cold sweat, and like have to walk around. And yeah, just it's one of those things where you look around. If you've ever like looked around, you're like sitting somewhere eating, look around, and you're like, man, I just envy all these random people that I have no idea what's going on in their lives, but I just am sure they're having a better time than me right now. I would really almost give anything to be in their lives right now, and that's never a good place to be. Never a good place to be, and it's certainly not a good place to stay. And so, um, with the help of my wife, we pulled the cord. We pulled the eject cord on this whole thing, and we shot the f out of there. We cut our losses and spent the next 3 months, 4 months licking our wounds. Which, if you were watching the podcast at that time, it was very bleak, I would say. I frankly don't even know how I was functioning. I was very depressed for about 3 months. Um, and I was very embarrassed. I was very confused, right? Because I really felt like God like wanted me to do this. I felt like everything was aligned, and then it just sort of felt like the rug got pulled out from under me. And that's a really hard thing. That's a really hard thing to go through. But it's easier when you have people in your life that really care about you. And I had my wife, thankfully, who genuinely cares about me. And she was just such a trooper through that time. My parents came down, made a special trip to come down and help me, uh, really help me get my mind off things. Um, and Zach was uh, still showing up in my life, and he really, really genuinely um, kept showing up even when he knew that there was no real direction left. The juice was gone, as they say. The train had indeed left the station, and I will always remember that he did that for me. Um, and then I got to give a shout out to Nathan and Benji too, because there was a lot of Friday nights, a lot of Tuesday night that we hung out, where I mean, I really needed that. I really needed to get out of the house. I really needed somewhere to go and people to be with. And they always, they never made me feel like ashamed for what I felt was a colossal failure. In fact, the day that I quit, sent out the message that I was quitting. I went over to the guys to the batch house, and shoot, dude, it was probably the best day uh, I had in a long time, because we had this whole like Minecraft um, realm party with a bunch of Zach's family and friends and all of our friends. And we celebrated Nathan's birthday and JC's birthday, and I stayed up till 4 a.m., which I never do. And, that is exactly what I needed at that time. So fast forward, um, Zach, comes to me. He's like, hey, man, Nathan and Benji approached me with this idea of moving to Florida. If you don't know, Zach is from Florida. All of his family are in Florida. His family's amazing. And we, meaning all the OG second floor guys, March of 2020, right before COVID, we traveled to Florida for what can only be described as the most incredible, iconic, and amazing spring break ever. And it could not have been timed better, because little did we know, a lot of my friends at the time were seniors, would not be graduating because of COVID. Zach's always had a heart to go back to Florida, and he's always seen Texas as a kind of a testing time for him. and that guy was testing him, because Zach loves his family. He's a family man. He loves his friends too, but he loves his family. And that was really, that was a little that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of, um, it was around that same time period that I was describing to you. I call it the 3 months of darkness of last year, and so things kind of just went on for a while. They weren't really sure if they were going to move or not, and we all ended up taking a trip to Florida last year around, I think, September or so. And again, man, just an amazing trip. Everything you could ask for, super fun. The Zach's family always lets us stay at their house. They feed us. It's just the most hospitable and amazing time. And um, I sort of felt like something was about to change right around that time, and I sort of knew, I sort of saw the writing on the wall, as they say. And that really culminated into a couple months later, sort of our friend group coming to a head where everyone um, just kind of realized that, like, really long story short here, but everyone sort of just came to the conclusion that it really was, frankly, best for Zach and Nathan and Benji to move to Florida. And so, with a heavy heart, we came to the conclusion that we needed to stop the podcast. And if I'm being really honest, frankly, I realized that it was in Zach's best interest to leave, and he probably wasn't going to leave, or he wasn't going to leave easily without kind of me making him, or sort of me just being like, hey man, it's okay, like I'm good, because Zach doesn't quit. He doesn't leave things. He doesn't leave his friends. And so I remember we were getting pizza, and I just felt the Holy Spirit be like, hey man, this is like mid conversation. I started the whole conversation being like, I don't think you guys should move to Florida. And I ended the conversation being like, holy crap, you guys really need to move to Florida, because the Holy Spirit just made me realize at that time that that's what he needed. Of course, I was terrified because, I did a little bit of editing in high school, but not near the skill level that Zach is at. And he had all of our flow, and he had bought a good majority of our equipment as well. And so it was pretty much like my worst fear, which was having to face the reality of either these last 2 years being, not what we hoped they would be, and losing what I would consider my best friend. And also, if I wanted to continue on with the podcast, doing it by myself. And so the guys have been to Florida for the last 4 months. I've currently been really just being with God, and asking him, like, Lord, okay, I really don't know where you want me to take this, but I don't think I should quit. And I also really want to give this my best effort. And I don't just want to, quote unquote, try to be consistent, as if that was like the only thing that matters, which I was really impressed that we did that, frankly. But it was time to inject some more quality into the podcast. Again, I really think a lot of that is on me, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I was supposed to be getting the guests. I was supposed to be making the podcast more interesting. And I just frankly don't feel like I did a good enough job of doing that. I feel like Zach gave every effort he could, really, to um, when we just didn't capture good audio, he would make the audio better. He would, on his own, come up with these awesome freaking intros for each new arc that we did. And I just can't say enough about Zach, and the effort that he put forth, and how grateful I am. And I still definitely feel a debt of gratitude for him for all of that. Um, and then he would just say, of course, if he was here, he'd be like, man, I just love you, bro. I'm just doing it because I like being here. I like hanging out. And that's just the guy that he is. That's why I say every person needs a Zach in their life. So this leads me to my concluding point, which is the question: where are we going from here? I've put a lot of thought into it. I put so much thought into it that I traveled to Europe with my beautiful wife for 10 days. And I wanted to really just get away, and I wanted to think about and pray about this and meditate on it and think about it. more. And frankly, I think I've in a bit, and maybe in some ways procrastinated, but also in other ways, the creative process takes time. And I've had some other friends step in, Gavin and Sam, who really are developing me on the creative side and have been a huge blessing since Nathan and Benji and Zach have left. They've God's just really used them to fill that void in my life with friendship, which I'm very thankful for. And I actually get to go see Zach and Nathan and Benji in June, which I'm freaking pumped about. Anyway, so what I believe is the problem right now currently is I've researched and read and watched a lot of content around geopolitics, what's going on in the world, and where this world is headed in the next 5 to 10 years. And I am not at all equipped or educated enough to be a player in that game, as in someone who is making those predictions. However, what I think is very applicable and what I'm very interested in is who is going to come out on top after the next 5 to 10 years? What does it look like right now to prepare? And really, more specifically, my generation, which I'm 25, so Gen Z, maybe really early millennials, or I don't know, maybe really old Gen Alphas, I should say. That's my audience. That's who I'm speaking to. And I want to create a space for you and I to figure that out. And I've also had my life changed by Jesus Christ, and not religion, but discipleship. The Bible and the person of Jesus Christ have changed my life. And I've grown up in the organized church, as in the body of Christ, but also in the church buildings. And I know everything that goes on with that. And I've went to a Christian college, and I was educated with a degree in religion and philosophy, and I was able to study and see these things. I was on a path to be a pastor and be a minister of some type. But God had a different plan, and he took me into business, and he took me into a construction company here in Austin. And that's where I've been the past 4 years. And he's been very faithful in that. And we actually just received news a couple months ago that we were pregnant and with our first kid. And so I'm going to be a dad soon. So there's a lot on my mind, right? I have a lot. I want to be a homeowner. I'm renting right now. I want to be a homeowner someday. And my parents are getting older. I want to be able to take care of them. I want a big family. I want to be able to provide for them. I'm tired of all of the waste in our food and our clothing and in our minds. I'm tired of brain rot. I'm tired of all the artificial colors and all of the things that are in our foods that are poisoning us. I'm tired of, as a type 1 diabetic, being taken advantage of by the... wow, I just had a moment there. By having to pay a lot of money for something that keeps me alive. Let me put it that way. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what I'm interested in. And so I hope that if you are just watching this for the first time, you would stick around. And if I make content that's good enough to be watched, cool. I welcome you to be here. And I would really love you to leave some comments and bring some questions out. I'm a big critical thinker. I love promoting critical thinking. I love critical pushback of different things. I really love the aspect of community. I think that those who build the best communities are going to be the ones that survive and thrive in the next decade or so. And everyone wants a village, but no one wants to be a villager. So my goal is to become a better villager. And my goal is to make better content that is easier to listen to and easier to watch. And my goal is to be myself, because that is kind of difficult for me sometimes. And my goal is to trust God and just trust that what he's going to speak through me is what needs to come out. So I hope that answered the question, what happened to the podcast? I will now be referring to this as a show. And we will be doing a lot more teaching and learning and investigating and researching in the time to come, because those are the things that I'm interested in and decent at. And I hope you come along for the ride. Gosh, that's so freaking corny to say. I hate when people say that. Hope you come along for the ride. Hope you come along for the ride. Subscribe. Leave a like and comment. Dear Lord. Okay, I've got to go to the store with my wife. I get to go to the store with my wife.